Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are usually two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. But today is a very... Today is a very special episode because we will be discussing...
It's the holiday episode.
It's the holiday episode. And we're discussing the best Christmas movie of all times.
I mean, the true Christmas story.
It just really gets us in the holiday season, obviously. 1984's Gremlins.
Christopher Columbus. Columbus.
It was written by Christopher Columbus and directed by Joe Dante. And I believe
Steven Spielberg is involved in this somehow.
Yes, his name popped up at the beginning, and I was like, he didn't direct this, did he? And then I kept watching it, and I was like, he really didn't direct this, did he? And
his name is attached.
But his name is attached to it. And we watched this movie. And Laura, what is your history with Gremlins?
So I was trying to figure out how I had originally watched this because I remembered watching it when I was fairly young, and I figured out that they showed it at my junior high during Christmas time to the kids. So my school had some interesting choices, but
it was rated PG, guys.
It's a PG movie, so I guess appropriate, but
I think this was before they had PG-13 actually, but
gosh.
I did wish that I once watched the Three Ninjas movie growing up when I was younger, and I used to use it as a babysitting movie. When I babysat kids, they loved the Three Ninjas, especially because at the time there were three of them, so they got to pick which one they were. And on the back, I realized one day that it was rated PG-13 for extreme ninja action, and I was so mad that this was not created during PG-13 for extreme Mogwai action. Extreme Mogwai violence. I was like, come on, you missed an opportunity. But Lori,
I may have been 11 or 12 when I first watched it, but it was definitely at school because on this rewatch, I was like, I'm pretty sure my mom would not have owned this movie.
Your mom does own this movie.
I don't think this is her style.
But it's your sister's favorite Christmas movie, so
she says she loves this movie. I think actually she really likes Elf, but
that's fair.
Elf is probably her favorite. She's got that one memorized. This one though, she does enjoy. But this movie, Hannah, I forgot Christmas so much of it when we were trying to figure out what movies should we think about covering for our holiday episode. I threw this one out there, and I was even trying to remember, is there any Christmas in this? And I was like, I think one of the Mogwai was Christmas, Santa had at one point. And then on this rewatch, I was like, Laura, what were you thinking? This whole movie is all about Christmas.
It's about the spirit of Christmas.
The meaning of Christmas.
There are gremlin carolers in this movie.
Hannah live texted me because this was her first time watching it. And at one point she said to me, they really know a lot about Christmas for just appearing in the world.
I believe it was. Let me pull up the text message because it was very funny and I was very proud of myself. Hold on. There are many things, including "they hatched, get out of the house," which is a quote from this movie. He just calls up his mom and goes, "They hatched, get out of the house." I said, for how new they are to the world, they understand Christmas really well. And in context, that means that almost sounds like I'm signing off on gremlin shenanigans during Christmas instead of just, how did they know that Christmas carolers were a thing? How did they know that you can knock on someone's door and start singing and people are like, oh, those carolers? I was just like, that's such a random thing.
I mean, we'll get there, but I feel like they watch a lot of TV in a short amount of time, so maybe they just pick up on this from context clues and watching It's a Wonderful Life.
The logistics of being afraid of light, but having being you know what, movies totally fine. I don't mind it. Movies are blinding so often, but it's like a play and a TV. I can't help it.
Hannah, before we get any farther, what is your history with this movie?
I had never seen Gremlins. I had seen pieces of Gremlins before in my life, which is actually how we ended up picking this movie, because Laura sent me a beautiful list and I said, I've never seen Gremlins, and she said done, and that was how we picked this. And I had seen like enough pieces to know like, oh, there's a nice gremlin and he never goes bad. And I actually thought throughout the entire movie, well, maybe he eventually goes bad. And there's
never trusted him.
Yeah, well, no, there just seems to be a couple of moments where it looks like he's getting angry. And I was like, oh no, are we gonna like lose this cute little gremlin by the end of the movie? Because he has to change too. Because like there are so many drop plot lines in this movie where it's like it looks like it looks like when he has to make more gremlins, he is like sick and ill, and then later on he is driving a car, no notes. So I didn't know much about this movie. I remember that there was a child involved. I didn't realize he was only in it for 2.5 minutes, and Eyebrows is the main character, which is how I called the character Billy throughout the entire time. I honestly forgot Billy's name immediately, like just left my brain.
I mean, and it is the most common name of young men in movies of this time. They're all named Billy. Billy or Jimmy. That's true. He works at a bank.
He works at a bank.
He has a job.
Hello, man, adult taxpayer.
This movie. Let's do a brief synopsis before we get into this.
A brief synopsis of this. I cannot wait to do this, and I will inform everyone of my live texting with Laura. So it starts in a very racist way. And like, here's the thing, guys. There's a lot of racist and issues to get into.
We'll cover some of it, but we are not experts. And this is more of a podcast where we are making fun of this movie.
Yes. So
this is not supposed to be a super critical analysis.
I honestly don't know how it's not an Oscar contender. How dare they?
Today. Bring it back.
Oscar winner Gremlins 2023. So we opened with a struggling inventor who I thought was in the 1950s, and I thought that this was going to be like a flashback on like these gremlins have been around for years and years. No, it's Eyebrows Dad.
This is present day.
Present 1980s day.
Present day. He is in Chinatown of some city where it also snows, so I'm unsure where that is.
He's also a struggling inventor, which is my favorite job ever. And I want to know how you have it. Like just the job of inventor.
This is a common job though for like dads during this time, because in television and movies, because wasn't it like the Rugrats, wasn't the dad an inventor on there? And I'm pretty sure there's another show that I'm thinking of that there's a dad that is an inventor.
At least Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, he's like, I'm a scientist. And that was just like, this guy is just like, I'm an inventor. And I'm thinking
specifically inventor type salesman people that is like a common job.
It's so strange.
Television dads.
Every time he said he was an inventor, I was like, listen, I don't really want to be an attorney anymore. How do I get that job? Because
here's the thing that he's trying to sell.
Any money,
the bathroom buddy
everywhere. The smokeless ashtray. What is that? The
thing is, he wasn't even trying to sell that. That was just a coincidence later on. But he's at the beginning of the movie, he's trying to sell this bathroom buddy, which is basically this brick that is full of all of these things that you need in the bathroom. And none of them really work that well, because he's got like a nail clipper that comes out, and then he's got a brush and a comb and a toothbrush, and there's toothpaste in there. And you find out later that it just like, if you press the button, it sprays everywhere, and
there's no off button. He says,
there's like an endless amount of toothpaste in there.
It's a Swiss Army knife, but for bathroom etiquette, I guess.
Yeah. Very poor idea.
I don't understand. He has so many inventions that make zero sense. They're mostly Ruth Goldberg machines. And he goes into this antique store where there is also a young child just helping his
a young child is leading him in there.
Yeah. And he's like, this is your grandfather's shop. And it's like, yes. And it's like, what was the conversation that happened to where you started talking to a young boy and found out his grandfather runs an antique shop?
And you're like, oh, I know who I'm going to try to sell some like brick of useless things to that don't work. This guy runs an antique shop.
And it is a very racist portrayal of
terrible, absolutely terrible.
Chinatown. And he tries to sell this bathroom buddy. It's a terrible object. It does not work. He spits toothpaste at this man. And then he hears this singing, and he's like, ooh, what is that beautiful sound? And he opens up a thing, and it goes, and he
they can't have light.
And then it goes, Mogwai. And he never questions how a creature can talk. He never says, hey, what species
And you know
this?
something that we have not questioned enough as society, why that was Howie Mandel's big break. Howie Mandel so is much the voice of this Mogwai.
And singing a little bit. Yeah, I do not understand. This man asks no questions, and he's like, "Ooh, creature who talks. I need it for
that
my
we've
son."
Never seen before. Like, this is a new species. He has no questions. He's just like, need it. I need it now.
My son will love it. And you're like, your little boy, Corey Feldman? No,
he's like,
adult
my
eyebrows.
adult son that has a job. He has
my adult taxpayer. And so he says, I must have it. And the owner of the shop is like, no, you are not ready for such a creature.
Like, I just saw that piece of crap you tried to sell me. There's no way I'm giving you this dangerous Mogwai.
You are not mature enough for this as a responsibility.
Maybe send your banker son back.
You have an adult son, and I do not think that you could take care of a living human child or a Mogwai. And then the owner's grandson is like, "We need the money. It's $200."
He's like, $200. I have to have it.
But this creature, I have sold nothing. I am very, very poor. My son is paying my bills, but I will spend $200 on this creature.
The logic.
$200 in 1980s money, which is like so much worth so much more. I don't understand. So anyway, the boy gives him the Mogwai, and he gives him 3 rules.
He sells it to him.
He sells it to him for $200. And
without his grandfather knowing.
Yes. And again, there are no follow-up questions to like, hey, don't get it wet, don't show bright lights, and don't feed it after midnight. And the guy doesn't say, hey, what happens? Or
write the instructions down.
Or like say like that's like it would make sense for a guy to be like, sure, like it's a pet, it's fine, whatever. But like the dad does take the rules seriously. Like he takes them to heart after
because he does reiterate them and remember them. Which, first of all, if somebody were like telling me really important rules like that, I was baffled, thinking he's not writing these down. He's gonna forget the rules. Because we all know how people are with rules. Terrible. So
and then the dad time travels to the 1980s.
Well, even like the lighting changes in the movie, but it's brighter, and you're like, what the heck?
I know, that's why I thought it was a flashback, and then I found out like it's just Billy's dad like hanging out with the top hat on. Like,
he just never could leave that time in his life, so he's living in the good old days.
Apparently, well, everyone's living in the good old days in Kingston Falls, because we flash over to where we meet Eyebrows, aka Billy. Billy is running late, and
he can't start his car.
He can't start his car, which is a VW Bug, and his racist neighbor who lives next door like comes up and is like, these foreign cars. And I can never tell if we're supposed to hate the neighbor or not, or if he's supposed to be kind of kooky.
And see, this is one of those things that like later on when we get to this part, I'm like, oh, is this supposed to be like a take on like, oh yeah, don't be that guy that's like, oh, I can't have anything foreign made. Like, I'm unsure the message this movie is trying to present.
Right, because like they seem to almost like that guy is like, isn't he a kooky racist? And it's like that's not usually how racism works. It's never kooky. It's usually bad.
Yeah, and this guy is especially awful.
And this guy is awful. And but he does offer to help Billy jump his car, and then Billy goes, "No, I'm running late," and then he runs down the street with his dog,
which. First of all, I get the like I'm running late. If this guy's gonna be chatty and want to jump my car and be slow, I get it. But also, why are you taking your dog
at home?
Why are you taking your dog to the bank?
Why are you taking your dog into the bank? Like he takes his dog, no leash, down the street. They just run to work, and then we find out he works at a bank. He is a bank,
and he hides the dog under the counter with a leash. Though it has a leash there, it's tied up.
So he starts working at the bank, and we also see Phoebe Cates and Judge Reinhold, which made me ask the question, is this in the same universe as Fast Times at Ridgemont High? Like, because those two people were also in Fast Times, and Judge Reinhold also liked Phoebe Cates in that movie, so it would make sense that they're in the same universe, but I don't know, that's just me.
All I could think of every time I see Judge Reinhold now is mock trial with Judge Reinhold.
With Judge Reinhold. Mock trial
from Arrested Development.
I thought about it often because I was like, his name is Judge Reinhold, and I only know that because of Arrested Development. But anyway, so Eyebrow starts helping customers. Phoebe Cates is like giving him the eyes. And we find out Judge Reinhold is an assistant bank manager who recently got promoted. And it's like, cool beans, bro. I guess you got paid an extra 25 cents an hour.
Yeah, wow.
Like, we're real impressed.
You're basically still the same position as Billy.
Then this woman, Mrs. Deagle, comes in and she's so evil.
She's like literally the most evil person that they can think of. They're like, what are all of the evil traits of suburban white women that we can think of? Put them all in one person, give her just a dash of Wicked Stepmother, and send her in.
Make sure she owns lots of real estate. I don't know why.
Well, and that made me wonder too, is this supposed to be some kind of like take on like It's a Wonderful Life with the real estate thing?
But like they don't understand how It's a Wonderful Life, like he actually ran a bank and how that worked like way back when. And they're like, she just owns the town, maybe?
You know, landowners, they are the worst.
They're just owning all the land and telling people that they're
gonna murder their dogs.
Or like a woman comes up and she's like, hey, can we have an extra week to pay you back? And I'm like, for what? Do you own like on your mortgage? Like, what do you owe this woman for? I need better details. Like rent. And she's like, can we pay you next week? And she goes, I guess you know what to ask Santa Claus for Christmas. And then the little boy with the mom goes, I'm hungry. And the mom goes, me too. And it's like, are we supposed to intimate that this family is so poor that they are starving?
Like, talk about dropped storylines. To add something like that in just casually and just barrel over it, like, no, we're not going to worry about this family that's literally starving. Is so terrible and cannot give them even 1 week extension.
They have zero monies for food. They just have enough money for rent. But
and she's like, "Give me that money now. I need it for weapons to kill the neighbor's dog."
Oh my god! And so she walks up to Billy and she's like, "Hey, your dog broke a very expensive thing," and he's like, "Oh, let me replace it." And it's like, Billy, it sounds like you don't have any money. You are a bank teller. How are you going to afford that?
At least he offered.
That
he
is
did the
very
nice
true.
thing and offered. Which some people, like, I feel like, let their dogs just do whatever, and they're like, "Meh, it's a dog." Which he did offer,
but he also ran to work with his dog, which I don't think that that's a very responsible
assumes
adult
guilt
thing to do.
Hiding the dog, he's assuming guilt.
And so then the lady, Mrs. Deagle, goes into a very, very graphic portrayal of how she will murder a dog. And the dog gets upset because the dog is also sentient for some reason.
Just briefly,
and tries to attack her. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, my heart, I'm going to have a heart attack. You need to put that dog down." And everyone else in the room was like, "Dude, why did you bring your dog into the
No one really questions it too much, though." Only and also other people were walking around behind him that they would have seen the dog.
Yeah, it's not like he's in an office and he just kind of lets the dog almost attack. Like he's trying to pull the dog back. Right. But I do like that, like, we're supposed to think the manager of the bank and the assistant manager are the bad guys, but they're like, "Hey, dude, don't bring your dog into work." You can just bring a dog
like common
here.
Sense. Like, I hate to bring it up, but quit bringing your dog.
Why are you an adult man who's just bringing his dog everywhere? I don't understand.
It was cute back when you were like 15, but now that you're 18, we're gonna have to ask you to stop bringing the dog. One more violation, you're going to HR.
He works and they're like, "Oh my gosh, how dare you bring this dog?" And then it like flashes over to Billy hanging out in a bar, which made me question, like, how old is Billy?
Yes.
Is he 21? Is he
and
28?
Where are we?
Is he 11?
What's the drinking age?
Yeah, like I had so many questions, but he's mostly just like watching Phoebe Cates, who has a second job
as a bartender.
Which does come back suddenly for no reason.
In a great way.
It's such a great way. And Judge Reinhold is like, hey, you haven't seen my new apartment yet. And Phoebe Cates like, ew, I haven't seen your old apartment.
I will see none of your apartments, so please never say that again.
And so he's like, why are you trying to run this bar? And Phoebe Cates is like, I'm trying to make sure like the industry doesn't collapse around us. This town is not doing well. And we work in a bank.
Here's the thing where she's like, I cannot let the alcohol industry die. That was the first thing that I thought of. I was like, okay, even throughout the pandemic, this is like really sad. I'm thinking of all the businesses that closed. You know what never closed? The 24-hour liquor places or bars.
Yeah. No. And
they
then,
were
like,
able to thrive.
I also was like, who owns this bar, Phoebe Cates? Why are you trying to help? Again, drop plotline. We never find out. I didn't know who she was trying to save it for. Was it just a nice old man that she did not know? Was it her mom? It wasn't her dad. We find that out. But like,
you really wonder a lot about the character motivations in this because it's not explained.
I don't understand. And so later, Eyebrows walks Phoebe Cates home. And Laura, I would like to reenact this dialogue because it is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Do you want to be Phoebe or do you want to be Eyebrows?
Was this before he was even given the Mogwai still?
This was before he was given the Mogwai. Okay, it's just like he's walking her home before he gets Gizmo. And this is just dialogue from the movie. So
okay,
Hannah
like took the time to act this out. I will be Phoebe, I guess.
Okay, so you can start.
I'm used to it. He's been like that ever since he lost his job. He's like a lot of people around here. He just wants somebody to listen, especially around the holidays.
Why is that?
It's when a lot of people get really depressed.
I always thought that everyone was happy during the holidays, no matter what.
Most people are, but some aren't. Well, everybody else is opening up their presents. They're opening up their wrists.
At this moment, Hannah texted Laura and said, what the fuck was that line? Well, everyone else is opening up their presents. They're opening up their wrists. And Eyebrows' response, cherry thought.
Can we keep going? Yes. It's true. The suicide rate's always the highest around the holidays.
Now I'm depressed. Do you ever get depressed on Christmas?
I don't celebrate Christmas.
What are you, Hindu or something?
No, I just don't like to.
God. Oh, wait, no. What's not to like? I mean, it's a lot of fun.
God. Say you hate Washington's birthday or Thanksgiving and nobody cares, but say you hate Christmas and everyone makes you feel like you're a leper or something.
End of scene.
End scene.
Why?
This is actual dialogue. Word for word.
Why did he jump to, what are you, Hindu or something? Just like a little anti-religious establishment.
I mean, I am concerned why he quickly went there where he was like, what are you, Hindu?
Why, Eyebrows? Come on. Like,
also very insensitive.
Yeah, it's just like, well, everyone else is opening up their Christmas presents. Others are. That is such a graphic line. That is out of nowhere.
The way that he just brushes over that and is like, I wonder if she's Hindu.
Cheery thought. What? Yeah.
And he's not like, do you want to like swing by this place with me real quick? I know somebody really good you could talk to.
I'm like, if someone brings that up, you're gonna be like, "Are you doing okay?
Are you
like,
all right?
Are you? Is
do you want to talk?"
Like, and he's just like, says, maybe I'll ask her out later.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't understand this part. I was shocked that it was happening. And I also was like, why are they walking home together? Did he like just hang out in order to walk her home in a bar where he wasn't ordering alcohol? It's just
because they're of similar age and it's like romance.
And she's just smiling at him. So it's just like, hey, let's get Phoebe Cates in there. She's a cute girl. Oh my gosh. So anyway, he goes home.
We need a needless romance in this.
And he never thinks about their conversation ever again. No. Like later on, he's like,
he forgets it immediately.
He forgets it immediately after she's talking
her
about
telling him something
rate.
Extremely morbid about when most people are opening presents, they're opening up their wrists. And he's just like, oh, whatever.
That thought to spin away. I'm going to play with Gizmo.
How could you forget that?
You are an adult man. That is not like if you were 12 and someone's like, yeah, sometimes Christmas makes me sad. Usually you're like, wow, it makes me happy. But by the time you're an adult with a fully formed like
frontal... When you work at a bank, you've had to go through some kind of sensitivity training. And he's clearly not.
And you've talked to a woman who wants to murder your dog. Also, he doesn't bring up, like, isn't that really fucked up what that lady said to me earlier?
Yeah,
today?
like they have nothing to talk about on the way home. Also, where is the dog? Was the dog there?
I think so. I think the dog probably went home by himself and broke another Santa Claus ornament. So many drop plot lines. But he goes home and his mom is like, hey, could you help me with this? Crack some eggs. And he like goes to crack some eggs and they don't crack very well. And he's like, oh man, my dad, the inventor, always makes things that work once or twice and then they're just broken. And my thought was, why is this wife so supportive that she is still using these machines? Why isn't she?
My thing is,
honey,
why
don't
do they
touch
need
that.
a special machine to crack eggs? Just crack them on the edge of something.
I will say that some people cannot crack things. And so usually when you have machines like that, it's for people who have like a specific need for that. But
that's
it seems
true.
like the dad is just making
all failed
Goldberg machines to like crack eggs in large amounts. Why?
But it's like they smash them and it's like, okay, well, that doesn't work.
Smash and drop them everywhere. And so the mom is constantly baking. She is baking up a feast.
She is supportive mom, supportive wife of the 80s, because this is just like all the tropes where it's like,
all the tropes.
I'm supporting you, honey. I'm making all the food while you're gone, and I'm trying to use all your inventions to get the word out. And I'm also never leaving the kitchen.
I'm also from the 1950s, like your dad with his hat. And so the dad just like gets home, and this was when I was like, oh, the dad comes back. I didn't expect this.
I thought he was just a narrator.
To be his dad. Yeah. And I thought he was just a narrator. And he walks in and he fixes a sword that fell off the wall, because in this house there are two swords hanging up the wall.
Randomly.
The mom's just like, oh, yep, that totally tracks. Let's take up some swords.
Oops, sorry, those fell down.
Those aren't, we don't have those very sturdy. Someone should fix that before they impale themselves. Oh my God.
Okay, we're good.
So the dad walks in and he's like, hey, Billy, I got a gift for you. Like he is 5. And instead
you know what? Billy
man,
acts like he's 5 because he shakes it.
He shakes it and he goes, what is it? Is it a puppy? And then the dad is like, you'll have to open this one before Christmas. And it's like, if he hadn't shaken it, would you have not said that? Would you have just let the little creature sit in a box?
Who shakes a gift they think is a puppy?
And he opens it and he goes, what is it? And the dad says, Mogwai. And the Mogwai goes, Mogwai. And then
Howie.
And Billy has no follow-up questions. Does not ask, why can it talk? Why?
And the mom is like, oh, awesome. The way that they're just like, oh, cool. And nobody is like, wow, this is actually a really strange creature that none of us have ever heard of or seen before.
And also the way they act when he gets the Mogwai, it's almost as if Billy is a huge animal fan. And from context, he seems to love his dog, but that's about it. It's not like
too much.
Collecting animals. Yeah, he loves his dog a normal amount. And then the dog leaves immediately with the dad to go on adventure campaigns with him. Like, it doesn't make sense. And I don't understand it.
This movie is an anomaly.
And Randall also doesn't let his son name the Mogwai. He's like, I
Who's
call
Randall?
It Gizmo. It's the dad.
Oh.
His name is Randall, apparently. I don't know.
Okay. I did not know.
His name is Randall Peltzer, and we have Billy Peltzer. Eyebrows.
He does say, though, he's like, I don't know what he's called. I've just been calling him Gizmo.
Gizmo. And it's like
one of these gizmos, like one of these things I make. I'm like, okay, come on.
Then he tells Billy the 3 rules. And again, Billy and his mom take this rule to heart, where they were like, we can't do any of these 3 things. We were told, and we do not have any questions about an animal creature that can't get wet. It can't be fed after midnight. Like the bright lights thing, I'm like, okay, cool. Some animals are light sensitive.
Yeah.
If I hear, don't get it wet and don't feed it after midnight.
You're asking a couple more questions.
I'm asking a few more questions.
So what is the timeline for feeding exactly? Because like after midnight, are we still good by 6 a.m.? Or
what happens during daylight savings time when we lose an hour?
Between noon and midnight, is that the only acceptable feeding period? As far as getting them wet, do they drink things, or is that off limits as well?
Does wetness happen on the inside as well? Which was a question I asked when they were drinking beer. And I was like, wait, aren't they getting wet in their mouth? Are they just spitting out gremlins left and right? I just don't understand.
Bubbling up.
Oh my gosh. Does chlorine affect them? Because why did falling into the Y pool not have any effects on like the chlorine intake on them? But if it is water that turned into beer, it's not going to do anything. This makes no sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, but unfortunately the science is never proven and we're never allowed to get anything to back that up. The scientist
is murdered immediately.
We'll get there. Let's keep going.
So anyway, Billy is just like, oh, little pet who talks to me. And poor little Gizmo like gets light in his eyes and he's like, ow! That was always cute when he got scared. But
Gizmo is actually very cute. And I blame Gizmo for the rise of Furbies because they sound similar and they were everywhere.
That is fair and accurate. But they also like, okay, so then Billy's young friend Pete, who is one of the Coreys, I believe Corey Feldman, comes over wearing a Christmas tree and says, hey, Billy, I got your Christmas tree. And I'm like, do you? What happened?
It's you? You're going to stand here?
Why did your family chop up a Christmas tree and was like, here, wear it?
You learn later that his family sells Christmas trees and he has to dress up like that because he loads them on people's vehicles.
Is that okay? I just learned that.
At this point, you don't know.
He just comes over dressed as a Christmas tree, takes it off and says, hey, Billy, I got your Christmas tree.
There's not a lot of context given.
And then Pete walks upstairs and he's like, hey, cool, you got this Gizmo here. Can I have one?
And but first, let me punch this glass of water across the table because that's pretty much what he does.
And also, Billy isn't like, hey, kid, get out of here. I'm an adult man. Why are you hanging out with me? Like,
the way that they are friends is somewhat concerning to me. Why does he have a friend so much younger than him?
Oh no, Laura, it bothered me. Why doesn't Pete have any friends? Like he needs friends.
Maybe if they were a couple years apart, they're both in high school or whatever. Okay, I can see it. But this is a sizable age gap between these two children. Man-children. And
well, Billy's sitting around shaking puppies. So
maybe I guess it's a maturity thing. One of them is selling Christmas trees and the other one is shaking puppies. So they both have jobs.
So after Pete punches the water,
it splashes all over poor Gizmo.
And Gizmo is like sick and hurt and like flailing, and these little
my thing is like
fur balls pop up.
Yes, when he is like covered in this water, he looks like he's in so much pain, and they just like stand there and watch him, just kind of like, oh,
the way
what's happening? And I'm like, he is in pain.
The way these people react to anything, because like, listen, the Mogwai are mammals. And he gets wet and he just reproduces a bunch of little Mogwai. And they're like, oh, I guess when you get wet, they multiply. It's a mammal. That's not how mammals work. What are you talking about? I don't understand. And
is it a mammal? I don't know.
I mean, it has fur. I guess it's not a mammal technically because like mammals are supposed to have some kind of, milk, and they're supposed to like actually be able to reproduce and not just like get water and multiply. So I guess he's not a mammal, but he has all the indications of being a mammal. Like, I don't understand how they didn't ask more questions. I was
the way that they also, those little fuzz balls like just pop off and they just immediately like form into bigger Mogwai. I'm like, wait, how did they not start off smaller and then
they're just fully formed.
It's a little disturbing.
And they also, so there are 5 more, and they're a little bit more aggressive than Gizmo. Mm-hmm. And I thought Gizmo was going to be much more bullied than he ever was. I was like, wow, this is pretty lighthearted for
which he quickly is sorted out of that new group. Once those new Mogwai are in there, they're like, Gizmo sucks, get over there. And Gizmo kind of like stays by himself, poor little guy. And
except he's always with Billy, and he's like, haha, I get to sleep in the nice little cushy bed, and you guys are over there in your box.
And their leader is Stripe.
which I did not understand, because later once they pick up gremlins, they're like, look, it's the striped one. And I'm like, I honestly can't tell.
He's the one that's kind of more of a bully when they're still Mogwai. And he's the one with a stripe down his full body.
But they're like, oh yeah, the striped one. And I'm like, really? All the gremlins look the same. How can you tell besides his personality? Kind of
his mohawk that he has when he's a gremlin.
So Billy decides to take one of the Mogwai to his former elementary school. Again, this is an adult man who just takes it to his elementary school teacher, Mr. Hansen, and is like, hi, Mr. Hansen, do you want to be the token black man in this movie? But only lasts for 5 minutes?
No one should want to be that, because at this point in cinema, anyone who is the token black person, especially in a film that's labeled as horror, is going to be killed off so quickly. And sadly, that's what happens.
It is very accurate on that is exactly what happens. And Mr. Hansen is also kind of like, I'm like, why did they make the token black person the one who does science experiments on animals? Like this, at least
this is the person doing experimentation that is questionable.
Anyone outside of like Billy's family, Corey Feldman and Phoebe Cates are honestly terrible. Like these are the only nice people in town, and they're trying to save this town while everyone else is working against them or doing science experiments. Yeah. So when the gremlin did attack Mr. Hansen, there was a part of me was like, did Mr. Hansen deserve it for doing science experiments on something that was a little bit lesser than?
I blame casting.
I blame casting for this. I don't blame Mr. Hansen. It was not his fault. I blame his, like, the way they characterize this man.
Yeah.
But so he does a science experiment on the Mogwai. He like sticks him with a needle, and the Mogwai gets, I
think he was injecting him with water saline, wasn't it?
Oh, I didn't realize he was also injecting him with something. I thought he was.
It looked like he was injecting him with stuff.
Oh, I don't like that. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. And then like, because
later Mr. Hansen has a syringe in him.
Yes, he does. That is how he is. I wondered how Mr. Hansen died, if it was just via syringe.
I think we can assume.
But anyway, back at home, the Mogwai who are sitting in their box like mess with Billy's alarm clock, and then they're like acting up a storm. And Billy is like, oh, I guess you're hungry. It's before midnight. And it's like, Billy, it's late enough that like maybe just wait until tomorrow.
Right.
Why are
you don't know how long it takes them to eat? What if they stretch it out?
Because like I also don't understand someone who looks at their clock at 11:30 at night and they're like, I guess I'll go down and make them a snack. Like you're in
fried chicken.
Yeah, a fried chicken. Oh my God. Which again, racist connotations there.
There are a lot of coding issues with the gremlins and the Mogwai.
But also watching the Mogwai eat fried chicken was one of the grossest things I've ever seen.
I mean, any kind of puppets, we know this from watching Dark Crystal, that any kind of puppets eating is disgusting. It's
so gross. I texted Laura and I said, that is the last time I ever want to see a Mogwai masticate ever.
The Skeksis eating reminded me very much of this, because it's just like the stuff falling out of their mouths and just very gross. A lot of smacking and like disgusting.
Oh, it's so gross. So anyway, he feeds them, and then in the morning they have cocoons, and the mom is like, did you feed them after midnight? And I'm like, why?
He's like, no, I didn't feed him after midnight. I fed him at like 11:55. And he's like, they unplugged my alarm clock.
Do you think they messed with it? And so then he just goes to work, kind of like he just spends the day acting.
Ignore the fact that there's these big disgusting cocoons in their home.
And also the Mogwai at the elementary school, they were like, well, how will they get him to have a cocoon? And they just show him kind of staring at the teacher's breaded sandwich before.
And then the teacher just sets the sandwich down right next to his cage and leaves.
And goes home. And so we are to assume that Mogwai also ate that after midnight, waited until after midnight, didn't eat it right away like any animal would.
He had the self-control to know, I need to wait until midnight.
Wait until midnight so I can join all my other Mogwai and become gremlins. Even though
I'll show that guy.
And so they're all cocooned, and he like calls the high school teacher and he's like, oh, mine's in a cocoon too. And like, that's all that happens, I guess.
Pretty much.
And so then all of a sudden one of them hatches at the elementary school, and we have like this dark scene of the gremlin like hunting Mr. Hanlon, And then killing Hansen, apologies, and killing him via syringe after he did.
He like grabs his arm and pulls him. It looks like he pulls him in, but then we see a little bit later, they don't show the actual death, but we see him lying there dead with a syringe sticking out of him.
Well, and he's like trying to get like the gremlin to come out so he can see him, and he's like, come here. Then he's like, ah! I'm like, you needed to have gotten out. This is a wild animal. We do not know enough about these gremlins.
Once they're out of these cocoons, once they're fully gremlins now at this point, they have like kind of scaly skin and creepy eyes and more yellow teeth.
Wikipedia calls them mischievous dark green reptilian monsters.
Yes, that I think is extremely accurate.
Oh, and also,
actually Gremlins, the story like of how that name came about, we hear I think isn't it the racist neighbor that was like coming out of a bar, and he explained that there were gremlins in his vehicle and that they were what was making his vehicle not work, which the name Gremlins, I think from what I had just briefly read, came from World War II.
World War II, where like machines were often going down, and they said gremlins were in the machines.
Yes. So now they're just like, everyone totally accepts this term, even though only one person has said it at this point and one other person heard it. But now everyone immediately is just like, gremlins, that's what those things are.
And you asked about this, but you were right. This was okay. So when the gremlins still exist, but they were like in Mogwai form, and they were all just kind of like being little assholes. That's when the conversation about Christmas being depressing happens, because right before that, the racist neighbor is drinking in the bar with Phoebe Cates. And then Phoebe Cates like helping him get out into his truck. And they put him in his truck. He has this conversation about like something being slashed. And he's like, it must be the gremlins.
Yeah.
And he just goes on a racist tirade. And then after they have this little situation, they go, hey, sir, maybe you should walk home. And I'm like, why did you put him in the car in the first place?
Why would you let him in the car?
You should have told him back at the bar when you had been over serving him that he shouldn't be driving home. This is what happens
when you have 15-year-olds running bars.
They just don't understand.
They don't really understand because they themselves cannot drink.
But also, like, you are putting him into a situation where he could have driven. Like, you can get sued for that, Phoebe Cates. Yeah. You could lose the bar. You're
going to lose the bar's liquor license, and they're going to go out of business. The exact thing you do not want to happen.
All because you put a racist in a car. Look, like, just have him walk home before. Billy can run there. He can walk home. And then they have the whole opening presents or opening risk conversation. Gotcha. The best conversation ever until we find out about Phoebe Cates' dad.
But anyways, back to Mr. Hansen.
Back to Mr. Hansen. He dies, and Billy runs.
And now we see what the gremlins actually look like.
Billy runs in and he sees the gremlin and he's like, oh my gosh. And so then he calls his mom, who is cooking, I guess, with a knife.
Still cooking. She's still cooking.
But she's holding a knife. And he says, the hatch, get out of the house. Instead, she goes up to the room and she sees that they have hatched out of their cocoons. And also the dad is off at an inventor thing for no reason. I don't understand why that plot line.
And also, happening. Why did the dog have to go?
I don't know. And the dad was like there and he's like, these machines, these inventors, there's a lot better inventors here. And I'm like, why was this a profession in the 1980s?
Why did you think that the bathroom buddy would compete with other inventions?
It was like making coffee and telling you how much coffee you're consuming and being like, I could make 600 gallons of this. And you're like, what?
Guarantee that like Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs are probably at one of those things. And they're like, bathroom buddy, honestly, get out of here.
So anyway, the mom like goes downstairs after seeing this before she doesn't get out of the house when Billy tells her to.
Yeah.
You should get out of the house and I specifically asked you to.
This just has so many tropes of horror movies where it's just like, leave now. You know what I'm going to do? Stay and check things out.
And she like goes into the kitchen and she sees one of the gremlins like eating batter, even though she had a knife. And I was like, why do you have a knife with you then? I don't understand.
Cutting up chocolate chips.
And so And so she turns on the mixer as the gremlin's like eating the batter out of there and kills the gremlin.
Yeah, it just grinds it up.
Oh God. And I think
this is what starts to give the rating a little bit of a punch up, because things get violent from here on out.
Well, and Billy, I think, kills the gremlin over at the high school or the elementary school, I guess.
Yeah.
Because he's just hanging out at elementary schools. And so she kills one via mixer, and then she kills one via microwave, which
is really gross.
And also, like, in horror movies, usually I was shocked, and I did audibly gasp when she turned the microwave on, because I expected her just to trap it and then like run away or like put something in between the thing. But she's like,
goes all out.
No, I'm gonna microwave.
I'm ending this
gremlin. It's going down now. And so then I think she stabs another one of them to death. So there is one
of them ends up in the fireplace. Or is that later?
That's Billy throws him into the fireplace because there is one hiding in the tree, and it tries to strangle her.
His mother, it's like biting her neck. Well, then Billy conveniently gets home. Good thing they had swords on the wall.
Grabs a sword off the wall and attacks the gremlin and throws it in a fire. And it's just like, then he takes the mom to the next door neighbors, and he's like knocking on the door, and he's like, she needs help, and just pushes her off.
And he's just like, stay there.
And he's like,
be careful, Billy.
And he's like, I will.
Can we go back a minute though to this whole scene at the house? Because the one gremlin's thrown in the fire, and obviously like the combination of like burning and then the light would kill it. But I'm thinking, like, wasn't there quite a bit of light in the house during this whole period of time, and none of them were reacting to the light?
Well, and then it like immediately gets dark out for plot purposes. Like, I do not understand what they were doing all day to get to nighttime. Like, what were they doing that like all these gremlins?
How can they avoid the light all this time? Because like Gizmo just hangs out inside of a dark backpack. Yeah. But the rest of them, where have they been? Or did they just conveniently hatch at the right moment?
They must have, I guess. Like, they just like had an 8-hour gestation of, I don't even know.
Okay.
It's so confusing.
But some of them have still made it, and they're continually getting themselves wet to reproduce.
Well, no. So Stripe is the only one left at this point, and Billy goes after Stripe to kill him, so he can end it all. And then Stripe comes, I believe, on a skateboard, a gremlin-sized skateboard. And he's just like,
lots of those laying around.
Obviously, why wouldn't I get on this? It's very useful for me personally. and like Billy goes running after Stripe on a skateboard to the YMCA that is open and doesn't have anyone watching the door.
You know, the YMCA. They really...
You need a membership to get into the Y, Laura. Like, you can't just get in there willy-nilly, but apparently they saw.
I know it's a place you can go, but
you do need a membership, and Stripe did not have one. But he gets in, and Billy and him fight by the pool, and it's like, how did Stripe know he had to get wet to reproduce? How are these gremlins?
How did he know the location of the YMCA, and why didn't he just find like somebody's random bathroom?
Exactly. Like, why
go all the way to the Y when he could have just hopped in somebody's bathtub?
He could have just hopped in the bathtub at home. Like, you needed the skateboard scene and the scary pool scene. Like, you needed to see the pool get foamy and like bubble up and have steam everywhere.
It's all for effect of the pool, I think.
I don't. They're like, listen, it would be really cool if he fell in a pool. How do we get him there? Skateboard.
If he goes into a large body of water and does a cannonball, how can we get him?
Well, also, like, Billy like fails to stop him. He like flips him over, and then he's like, oh, I put him in the water. And we learn that if Mogwai get wet as gremlin form, they just make more gremlins. They don't just make
it's
Mogwai.
Not new Mogwai.
So that's strange. And they all like Billy runs away to get like into safety, and then the gremlins just go on a like spree
where they're on a rampage.
They're on a rampage, but some of them are like hunting people, and some of them are messing with a chair electricity that helps the lady go up and down the stairs to kill her in a very graphic way.
It's Mrs. Deagle.
Deagle, yeah. So Deagle is
the dog lady.
Mrs. Deagle, the evil lady who hates dogs, has a bunch of cats, and one of them is named Dollar Bill.
Why do we need that?
And I think Dollar Bill is the mean one where she's like, Dollar Bill, don't do that. And she's just feeding her cats. And then she hears knocking on the door and she's like, oh, it's carolers. I hate carolers.
And you know what? It was carolers.
It was carolers. It's a bunch of gremlins who are just sitting outside singing a song.
Hats and scarves.
And like, but then they try to like almost beat up on her, but not really. And she gets scared and she runs to her chair. And one of them messed with the wiring. And they
go extremely fast and they shoot her out of a window.
Which I didn't know you could do with those chairs.
I don't think you can. This is where you begin to question, like, what does the movie want us to take away from this? Because early on, when you're introduced to Mrs. Deagle and the racist neighbor, you're like, these are terrible people. And so then when the gremlins do this to Mrs. Deagle, you're like, oh, is this supposed to be like, oh, justice? Like, don't be like that? Or what are we supposed to take away here?
Well, and then like a gremlin gets behind like the racist, like, machine and like drive him down. And the cops are all like, what's going on? And then
Billy goes
to
the
the police and he's like, hey, I need help. There are gremlins running around. And again, that is not what they were identified as ever.
Yeah.
He decides that that's their name because a drunk racist told him that name once.
Yes.
And he's like, I guess this fits. And the police officers are obviously like, oh, really? A mammal reproduced through water? That sounds weird. And I was like, why is this propaganda? Because the only ones asking question are the police officers. But at this point, you're supposed to be like, police, he's here for help. And I'm like, no, it kind of sounds like he is being a little weird. I think they have a right to ask some questions.
And when they present Gizmo, Billy presents Gizmo as evidence of gremlins.
Gizmo is like waving a flag, like, don't worry, I'm American.
I'm American. And they're like, patriotic little guy, isn't he? And I'm like, what is this movie?
And they're like,
that we have to
wouldn't hurt anyone. What are you doing? And he's like, but I fed the other ones after midnight. And it's like, dude, see,
they don't know about the rules, Billy. They don't know about the rules.
And it seems like they didn't take them to heart the way you did. So.
But they're they see Gizmo and they're like, he looks pretty harmless to us. He's really patriotic. USA. Woohoo.
They literally could have walked outside. And also at this point, it looks like Gizmo's getting angry. And I thought a plot point was Gizmo was going to turn evil because he's like, and waving the flag like angrily. And I was like,
he's probably like, I'm not American.
I'm an immigrant. Respect my life. And so anyway, the cops end up like leaving and being like, oh my gosh, there's mayhem going around. And they like see Mrs. Deagle dead in the snow. And they go, that's Mrs. Deagle.
Their nonchalance about all of this is concerning.
And then we cut over to a bunch of gremlins at the local bar. And
where Phoebe's working.
Where Phoebe is working. And the way Phoebe asks no questions of these gremlins, she's just doing her job. And at one point she goes, okay, I'll get to you. Just don't bite me.
We have never yet questioned what happens if they bite you or scratch you. Like, what if you have some of their saliva in you? You know, none of these questions have been presented yet. And I'm worried about the mom. Now I'm worried about Phoebe because she's been trying to serve them alcohol and they've been biting her. But she continues to do it. She keeps doing her job. She's dedicated. She cannot let that bar go out of business.
She must serve the alcohol. I just don't understand how this, like, again, these people are so nonchalant about creatures invading their spaces. And Phoebe
I don't care if I'm just a patron at a bar. If I see a gremlin come in, I am out of there.
Right? And she's just like, don't worry, I will serve you. I will serve you. And then we see gremlins doing like 80s dances and dress like Flash dance. And I'm like, they never saw that movie. How did they know? And then there are gremlins who have unlit cigarettes, like 5 in their mouth, and they want to
because
smoke
they can't handle the light.
But they want to smoke it so badly that Phoebe Cates is like, oh, here, I'll light it for you. And she puts on the lighter, and then it's like, which in my mind says, hey, I'm afraid of fire. You know what Phoebe Cates realizes? Hey, they're afraid of light. How did she jump from one to the other?
I think maybe when they were watching so much TV, they maybe saw like a commercial or two that was like, don't smoke. And so then they're like, you know what? We still want the coolness effect of it. So we'll just keep the cigarettes in our mouths. But when she goes to like light it, they're like, baby, come on. We don't want to actually smoke.
And so at this point, I'm like, hey, Phoebe Cates is going to turn on the lights of the bar and have a fight with the gremlin to turn on the lights of the bar. That is not what happens.
No,
I was
she
shocked.
flees.
She flees with a camera, but she continues to take pictures of them and then breaks the bowl because she took too many pictures. That is a plot line in this movie. I kid you not. I was shocked.
So many things happen in this movie.
She runs into Billy and Billy is like, oh my God, it's the Gremlins.
She's like, I know, just left my job trying to take care of him. I just got off work.
Trying to be a professional, but they were not letting me.
I had to end my shift early.
And so he's like, we have to take all the gremlins down. So they go hunting for more gremlins. And they find them all at the local movie theater. And
luckily they were able to get there because his car did start.
Yes, I forgot about that. And so they get to the movie theater and they're like, okay, we're going to take down all the gremlins as they watch Snow White and the Seven Dwarves.
And why that movie, Hannah, I went on a rant about how this is my least favorite Disney movie and why these gremlins are so captivated by it is bothersome to me.
I don't
know, but you were more concerned that they were all singing Hi Ho, that they knew the song.
How did they know the song Hi Ho? They're all like, Hi Ho, Hi Ho. And it's like, they have been in all of existence for an hour. How did they figure it out?
Their first day on Earth, they know all of the Disney media available and all the songs.
I don't understand, Laura. And so while they're there, all of a sudden, apropos of nothing, Phoebe goes, now I have another reason to hate Christmas. Reminder, she did tell Billy exactly why she doesn't like Christmas because it's depressing and she doesn't like it. And in this moment, does he remember any of their previous conversation? No. And he goes, what are you talking about? And I'm going to read this for everyone. The worst thing that ever happened to me was on Christmas. Oh God, it was so horrible. It was Christmas Eve. I was 9 years old. Me and my mom were decorating the tree, waiting for my dad to come home. A couple hours went by. Dad wasn't home. So mom called the office. No answer. Christmas Day came and went and still nothing. So the police began to search. 4 or 5 days went by. Neither one of us could eat or sleep. Everything was falling apart. It was snowing outside. The house was freezing because they don't have heat. So I went to try to light up the fire. That's when I noticed the smell. The fireman came and broke through the chimney top. And me and my mom were expecting them to pull out a dead cat or a bird. Were you really at this point? Were you really expecting a dead cat or a bird? That's my question.
Also, I'm just going to add in here that Hannah's giving this a lot more emotion than the actress actually did. Like, she said this so deadpan, like no emotion in her voice.
And instead, they pulled out my father. He was dressed in a Santa suit. He'd been climbing down the chimney, his arms loaded with presents. He was going to surprise us. What? Why? Weren't you two sleeping? It sounds like you guys were. I don't understand. He slipped and broke his neck. You guys didn't hear it? He died instantly. And that's how I found out there was no Santa Claus. What the fuck is that?
So I was so waiting for you to get to that part, Hannah, because there was one thing that I was like, I remember this.
How could you not? This would be in my mind for the rest of my life. I missed the time in my life where I didn't know that that's how Phoebe Cates lost her father in Gremlins. And apparently, like, it was maybe meant to be played for jokes in the movie theater, but also why? Like, that's
I don't think it's funny at all when you're watching this by yourself, especially. You're just like,
what?
Oh.
And she's just saying it with the most deadpan. And also, like, that's how you found out Santa Claus wasn't real? How from that story did you get Santa isn't real? Like,
well, and
it's because
if that's the way that story ends,
right? Was that the traumatic?
She's more upset about that. Your dad died coming down the chimney with a bunch of presents in his arms.
Why did her dad think that was a good idea?
That's a terrible idea.
It's a terrible idea. Okay, I would be like, honey, was he okay? Are you okay? Also, this is my biggest part. This town is not that big. How did nobody know? No one knew. Did they move here recently? Like, I need
None
to know.
None of the people at the bank said something to Billy about like, oh, like, the reason she's so sad right now is because her dad died at Christmas time coming down a chimney and he broke his neck.
Like, how do you not know that, Billy? Like, you must be so oblivious to not know that is how
Billy, just lay off all the Christmas stuff that you're talking about. Like, it really upsets her because her dad died dressed as Santa coming down a chimney. And they thought it was a raccoon that died in the chimney, but it was actually her dad.
We thought it was a cat or a bird or something. How? Your dad has been missing for days. I would expect it to be your dad at that point. Like,
the fact that she had to even like try to light a fire to smell it, though, that's not even a thing. Like, you would have smelled it. Oh my gosh.
I don't understand. Like, also
the choices that were made in this writing.
Also, he had a thing full of presents. Like, you're doing too much. You need 2 presents if you're going down a chimney like that.
And also, why was he carrying them in his arms? He just like had an arm full of presents, and it was like he just went boom and jumped.
I think she said a bag
first.
She said a bag full of presents.
Like, oh, I thought you said armful.
No. It was a bag full of presents. But like, also, chimneys are not that big. They're not that big.
No.
So in what world did this man think he could get down a chimney with? And how is that not the only thing that town ever talks about?
No kidding.
You remember when the man tried to go down the chimney with lots of presents and died?
Oh.
And like, I'm sorry, you tell your wife if you're going to be up on the roof for no reason.
Well, yeah, the way that he's just like casually like, I'm just gonna surprise the 2 of them and come down the chimney
as they decorate the tree. Like, how do you not tell anyone about that plan? Like, I feel like
they're decorating the tree and they just don't hear any kind of like boom boom. A 200-pound man jumping down the chimney.
I feel like that is something you run by your best friend. Like, hey, I think this sounds like a good idea. And the best friend is like, I saw a talking creature the other day. I have to go to an inventor conference. But maybe don't go down the chimney because yours sounds worse than mine. Like, don't get this. But anyway, that was supposed to be played for jokes. People were laughing in the theaters. And
were they? I'm concerned. The 80s were a time.
The 80s were a time where you could have a talking creature and no one asked questions, Laura, besides the cops.
They were the only people that asked questions. We're laughing at horrible, horrible deaths.
So anyway, they blow, and in this Wikipedia article, they go, Billy rescues his girlfriend, Kate Berenger. And it's like, it's not his girlfriend. He asked her out on a date. That's not how that works.
But he did. I mean, as far as like giving Billy some credit, he did ask her out. Okay. Yes. It wasn't just like, I assumed that we're boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yes. He said,
there is that.
Oh, you have that day free. I was wondering if you would like to go out sometime with me. And she said, I would like that. And he said, okay, let's finalize the details on a phone call, which in my mind, I'm like, let's finalize them here. And then we'll double check on a phone call. But,
I mean, for the 80s, it's pretty good.
It is pretty good. And that's just my personal preference. It seems like she was into it. So, but also it seems like she was traumatized by not knowing
she's got Santa a lot going on, honestly. That I don't know if she's maybe ready to date yet. But
I feel like this is the point where she should say, like, hey, just so you know, like, I don't do anything. I don't make serious emotional decisions around the holidays because my dad died traumatically during them. And I found out Santa wasn't real. That's the actually important part of the story. That's the moral of
the story.
But anyway, after this horrifying incident that I just reenacted for everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed Laura and I both being Phoebe Cates. We did. They blow up the movie theater, but
yeah, that's the plan to kill all the gremlins watching Snow White. They blow up the movie theater.
And also the gremlins are able to watch a giant movie screen with giant light coming out.
The light is no problem. Blue light, not a problem. White light, issue.
They just don't like natural lights of homes.
Yeah. Blue lights are fine.
It's fine, guys. It's fine.
If this was made in 2022, it'd be fine if it was like screen light. Yeah, like all that's okay.
they're just putting up with it because they really, really wanted to sing Hi Ho their first day in all of existence.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, Stripe survived because he wanted candy and he was next door getting candy.
Across the street to get some candy.
Because they had all eaten everything out of the concession stand, which, you know what? That's their right. Concession stand candy is expensive, so you should steal that first, but that's just me.
It's not big portions.
But yeah, they steal a bunch of candy. He steals a bunch of candy, and then he sees all of his murdered
companions,
and he is real mad about it. So instead of just like going to the bathroom and making more of himself, he decides he has to go to the Montgomery Ward store across the street. And they follow him in and they go hunting, which includes Gizmo in a toy car. And they're all fighting. Phoebe Cates is barely useful during this scene.
Yeah,
besides
she's hardly there.
Except for a random moment where Billy goes, "Hey, go get that light over there." And then he kisses her. And I'm like, why are you kissing? This is like the worst moment. You have a date coming with her. Wait until
I'm sorry,
later.
but you cannot trust Stripe. Hold off on this.
Right. Like, just wait a couple minutes. You can kiss her afterwards, Billy. This is a terrible
It's super
plan.
important that you focus on the task at hand because Stripe has a crossbow.
He does have a crossbow. He has like a crossbow and gremlin-sized guns with him. Why are they gremlin-sized?
I'm concerned about what Montgomery Ward is stocking because those things don't seem safe.
But anyway, they have a huge fight with Stripe as he tries to get to a water fountain to spawn more gremlins. And Gizmo ends up opening a skylight, exposing Stripe to the sun and killing him a couple of times. Like, Stripe has to die multiple ways.
Which the other gremlins, they seem to instantly kind of die. Stripe's death is so gross where like he's killed and then his skeleton is still like bubbling around and moving. And you're like, oh,
and like jumps up to attack Billy almost. And it's just like, why do I have to watch this? This is almost as bad
really gross
as watching Stripe eat chicken. I don't like this. And so anyway, they return home and the dad shows up and he's like, I've been gone for days. Like, what happened here? And he's like, well, Dad, you know, the Mogwai showed up. And then the mom, they take all the kids home, and the mom, who has been attacked and who is probably exhausted from a many gremlin attack and their house has been destroyed, goes, I bet he wants chicken soup.
Gosh.
Because moms be cooking in the kitchen.
She has one thing on her mind, and it is making sure everyone is fed.
After traumatic experiences, you need homemade chicken
Does
soup.
she still have bleeding bite wounds from the gremlins? Yes.
Will
that affect the quality of the soup?
No, because it's made with love, Laura. So she goes to make soup, and then she turns around and she goes, because there's a man in their house.
Inexplicably, the man from the beginning who had the Mogwai stolen by his grandson and sold finds their home.
And he's like, I told you were not ready for the Mogwai. And it's like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, this town is
rampage.
And we had to hear about somebody's really traumatic backstory
that no one knew about before that day. She and her mom kept the best secrets. Like, let's never speak of this.
Mind-blowing.
And so also like during this, there's like a TV thing where they're like, a mass hysteria had people thinking they saw little creatures. And I'm like, really? That's what we're going to end with? Is like, oh, it was just a hallucination.
Just in your minds. Like, no, like people are actually wounded. Billy was hit with a crossbow.
And like, what's her face took a million pictures of them. Can't they go
Mrs.
find
Deagle went out the window into her yard and died, and we're gonna not about this a little harder.
A racist was run over with his own truck.
With his American-made plow.
And so the guy is like, I have to take Gizmo back. And he goes, oh, Gizmo wants to say something to you. And again, I say,
they have bonded, even though Billy has kept him in a dark backpack for most of the movie.
And really just wants Gizmo to go, Mah! And he goes, oh. 10 out of 10.
Howie Mandel is Canadian, is he not?
He is Canadian.
Why is he on that show?
I mean, America is not just America, Laura.
That's true.
I started watching. I guess we didn't do a reading, watching, enjoying. You and I just went straight from the.
What is there to think about besides Gremlins?
We needed to talk about it. But I was watching Newsroom, and someone says, "I'm from America, not America."
Wait, what?
She says, "I'm an American, not an America."
I was like, wow, she really proved the American.
She's supposed to be like a beauty queen and kind of be a ridiculous human being, but I'm an America, not an American. Will, and he says something about like, oh, I forget what he says, and she's like, "Well, not in my America," and he goes, "Especially in your America." So anyway, that's a random tangent, but the guy is like, "I have to take Gizmo back," and Gizmo says, "I must say goodbye to Billy," and he goes, "You can understand him?" And he goes, "Yes, if I'm listening well."
Okay.
And then Gizmo goes, "Ah, Billy."
Yes! Howie.
And it's like, well, you can understand him too, apparently.
If he can say that well, could he not just tell them, actually, my name's Howie, it's not Gizmo?
Please don't call me Gizmo. I'm an American, not American.
I would really appreciate it if you just called me Howie Mandel.
Please don't get me wet.
I've got a really great idea for a new show. It's called Deal or No Deal.
That always just makes me think of 30 Rock, where what's his face has the like, it's like Deal or No Deal, but someone's holding a briefcase of gold, and then it like cuts to the end and it shows that he's like, "It's in box number 17," and he goes, "Oh, gold is heavy." I think about that scene so often. But anyway, and then the dad comes over as a narrator again for no reason, and he's like, "Well, you gotta be careful, because if something's
messing with your electricity, you know, it might just be a gremlin.
Make sure you turn on your lights, because it might be a gremlin." And I said, literally, that's not the theory. Like, that's not.
Is that what we were supposed to take away from this?
That's not what I took away from this. I think you got the wrong message from the movie, narrator.
I'm confused.
I didn't expect us to go back to racism for the of this movie.
This movie, like I said, I'm confused what it wants us to take away, because like Mrs. Deagle dies very badly, and so does the racist neighbor. So if you're thinking, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't be racist and horrible people, is that the moral that we should take away from this? Apparently not. It's more like Santa isn't real, and gremlins could be messing with your electricity.
I don't understand that, where he's like, they might make sure
if
you
turn
have
on one channel that you really want to watch that's not coming in, but all the other ones are. It could be Gremlins.
I think you just live in the country.
I think you live in a small town.
I just didn't understand where like all of a sudden he takes this wide swing of like, no. It's about electricity being messed with. And it's like, no, it's not. It's about you paying $200 to a small child for a creature that talks, and you shouldn't have done that.
I think he doesn't understand the moral of the story either. I don't know that anyone understands the moral of this story.
It's maybe tell your adult son that he doesn't need a puppy if he can't pay for it himself.
Which he should be able to work in at the bank. I would assume that he makes a pretty decent wage.
It sounds like the son was paying all the family's bills because the dad is a terrible inventor. So maybe the moral of the story is don't have a relationship with your son where he feels like he has to be the breadwinner and caretaker of you. Because
and also like if the mom didn't feel such an obligation to have to stay in the kitchen and cook, she could have gotten a job.
This kind of just sounds like emotional manipulation of your children,
if
I'm being honest. Your wife just has to make eggs in the most like inefficient way possible because you have to do the inventing. You're an inventor.
Oh my gosh.
So, Laura, what was your moral of the movie?
I don't know what to take away from this movie, honestly. I think my big takeaway was that I realized this is a Christmas movie. It's all about Christmas. Christmas is throughout this thing. And I don't know if there's any moral takeaways from this, but I now know that it belongs on Christmas movie lists.
I mean, my moral is that Laura's husband should listen to her more often because she did ask him if this was a Christmas movie and he said no, and then she watched it and it was.
We were both right.
I just love this movie so much.
Hannah, you said that this is one of your favorite movies now.
This will now be one of my favorite movies. I'll never watch it again. But I will forever say that this is one of my favorite movies. It will just be canon.
I'm so glad that you wanted to watch this. Like when you said you hadn't seen it, I was like, oh, we have to watch this chaos. Oh,
this is the best movie of all time, guys. Howie Mandel is Gizmo.
Howie.
How?
This is his big break.
Oh my God. Steven Spielberg made a cameo in this movie.
Who was he?
He was a man riding a recumbent bicycle.
Oh, bold choice.
Bold choice. Oh my God.
I am concerned about everyone involved in this.
I mean, Zach Galligan barely did anything after this. Like he did Gremlins and Gremlins 2. He's eyebrows, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all he did. Like, I mean, he's been in stuff, but not really.
We know Judge Reinhold did about every possible movie within the 80s, 90s for a while, into the early 2000s. Once he started doing movies with Tim Allen, then he started to slip away from society.
Fair enough. And Phoebe Cates is Phoebe Cates. She is known for Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yes.
She was also in the movie Drop Dead Fred.
Which I have not seen that.
I've never seen that either. She's also in Princess Caribou, which is a movie I remember growing up. She's married to Kevin Kline.
Interesting.
I like that. She's 59. How old is he? I'm always interested. He's 75. It's quite an age gap.
Okay.
But I mean, good for them. They have 2 kids. Owen, who's an American filmmaker, and Greta, who is a singer-songwriter. So good for Phoebe Cates. I mean, I like Kevin Kline. She hasn't starred in much. She must be just like, hey, I was in the 80s and 90s, and then I married Kevin Kline. So
you know what? Else do I have? Fair enough.
She has a boutique on Madison Avenue in New York. Good for her. She shouldn't have to do anything but be married to Kevin Kline if she doesn't want to.
I mean, she's probably making a lot of money off she's probably making a lot of money just off the movie The Gremlins. So
yes. I mean,
because this is literally a movie that is a mainstay in people's vocabulary. People know the term Gremlins. They know the rules about them without even having seen the movie.
I did know the rules of the Gremlins.
So it's pretty widespread throughout culture, I would say, that you know about this movie. So I think Phoebe's probably doing okay.
I think she's probably doing okay. Like, I don't understand how Howie Mandel got cast for this.
He was a voice actor for a while, because do you remember that cartoon Bobby's World? He was the voice in that as well.
Oh, okay. And he got to say Macway all the time. Macway. And he got to be a talking sentient being that no one asked questions about at all, ever once.
The original Furby.
The original Furby. I loved this movie so much, Laura.
Thank you
for getting it to me.
It was
on Christmas time.
There's so many problematic moments, but it's hilarious to just watch this movie and pick it apart. Like, so many things don't make sense, and it's just not great.
So yes, we can say that, like, I am obviously not talking about any of the problematic moments. I hated all of those things.
Yes.
But this is weirdly, like, 1984, that was like 40 years ago at this point. Like, it's bad, but at least it's 40 years ago bad, where you can be like, oh, this is terrible, and I get to hate watch it and have a fun time doing it.
Exactly.
Because like,
so when we say that this is a Christmas masterpiece, we're joking, but we're not joking.
We're not joking. Like, I just don't understand how this isn't an Oscar contender. I will be watching this every Christmas, but I won't.
It's one of those, you're like, yeah, I gotta get Gremlins out to watch it, and then you just don't watch
Never
it.
watch Gremlins. Eyebrows is my new favorite actor. Him and his eyebrows. His name was Billy. I never remembered his name ever. When the Gremlins said Billy, I was like, Billy. I was like, his name was Billy.
It's like Billy and Jimmy are like the names that all people have. So
I mean, this man, he was an actor. He did this movie. Apparently they were worried about Phoebe Cates being in this movie because she was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And I was like, listen, leave her alone.
She can do what she wants.
She can do whatever she wants. It is called a black horror comedy. I don't think it meant to be a comedy.
I don't think it's that funny, but it is funny if you're just like taking it seriously.
Yes. What are you, Hindu or something? What? You want to know? I'm not like a huge Christmas person, and I've never been asked if it's because I'm a different religion. Like, most people just know, like, oh, you don't mess with Christmas. Okay, cool. Not like, what are you, Hindu or something? No.
That's the jumps to get there. Oh my gosh. Billy.
How old are you? How old are you?
Merry Christmas, everyone.
So guys, did you watch this movie for us? Should
go watch it now. Gremlins 2 next year for Christmas.
Gremlins 2 for Christmas next year. Apparently there is a girl gremlin in that movie called Greta Gremlin. I looked her up.
She looks disgusting.
I also listened to the Bechdel Cast episode where she talked about Keenan and Peele sketch on Gremlins 2, and it is amazing. If you haven't watched it, go watch that. I'm obsessed with this movie now, and I can't wait to watch Gremlins 2.
Yes.
Laura's never seen Gremlins 2 either, guys. So like,
no, I've never seen it.
Yeah,
I bravely stopped watching.
You bravely. I mean, I knew it was hard for you because, like, again, masterpiece.
Yeah. It was difficult.
There is a movie at moviechat.org. It says that Billy is supposed to be between 21 and 23. I would argue that he is between 10 and 23 at any given moment in this movie.
It's hard to say.
Why is he friends with the elementary school teacher? Why wasn't it at least a high school teacher? Like, why? And it's because you need a Corey Feldman cameo. Where, again, at one point in the movie, Corey Feldman cuts down a string of lights instead of just shutting his windows.
Right.
No reason. You could just shut your windows.
And he did it so slowly and like casually, where he just reaches out the window and just like, boop.
And also, why does he have a hunting knife?
You know, in case gremlins.
He uses it on the Christmas tree farm.
Yeah. Okay. I'm unsure.
I'm unsure as well, Laura. I don't know. Thank you for bringing me this movie. Thank you for getting it into my life. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone. This is our gift to you.
We hope you enjoyed this rundown of the masterpiece that is Gremlins.
And just know, like, if your audio or something isn't working, it's probably Gremlins.
It's probably, that is the moral of that movie for some reason.
It's the moral of this podcast.
And remember,
if your audio isn't working or the sound is cutting out, we sound a little scratchy, it's not us, it's Gremlins.
It's Gremlins. And remember that if your friend isn't into Christmas, maybe it's because her father died in a horrific Santa Claus related accident.
Never remember that.
Never forget, guys. Phoebe Cates' dad. That's how I found out that Santa wasn't real. I actually think I wasn't allowed to watch this movie because my sister was really freaked out by E.T., like to the point where she still can't watch E.T. to this day.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I like E.T.
So I actually kind of wonder, because I never saw E.T. growing up because she's 6 years older than me. So like by the time I came around, she was like 10 and still like, I'm not watching E.T. And so my family was very much like, we're not going to watch E.T. And so I've only seen E.T. once during school. And I remember being a little bit bored with it. I've never seen it as like an adult person. So that maybe that's one we'll revisit.
It's cutesy.
But because she was terrified of E.T., I'm almost guessing my family was just like, listen.
Yeah, if she's afraid of E.T., we're not even going to try it with the Gremlins.
Yeah, we're not doing Gremlins. So I missed out on my Gremlins experience. So I do think that is actually why, because E.T. freaked one of my sisters out. So,
and that's fair.
And that is fair. And that is a travesty, honestly, because she kept me for years without experiencing one of my favorite movies.
She held you back from watching the Gremlins.
I know. It's very disappointing. I also think that this movie was randomly on. Like, do you remember when we used to go to malls and there was like a little kid playing area that had like movies up?
I do not know that.
Oh my God.
That could have been a thing.
So like one of the towns, you know, the town that we lived nearby with the mall that had like a JCPenney's and a Bergner's. Well, in the Bergner's, there used to be like a little Legos like booth where like little kids could play, and then they would have a movie playing at it. Okay. And I almost want to say that Gremlins was once playing, and all I can say to that is, why, Bergner's? That seems inappropriate. You can't just be showing Gremlins for willy-nilly. Like,
it was probably Christmas time.
Yeah, they were like, well, this is a children's Christmas movie. No, it is not. Oh, but everyone, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Everyone has a great holiday season.
Yes.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all of
them. Or if you don't celebrate holidays.
Yes. I'm not a huge fan
Winter
of
solstice
Christmas
or anything.
I'm not a huge Christmas fan, but that's just because I worked at Hallmark for years and years and years, not because I have Santa-related trauma, unfortunately.
Oh my, Hannah.
I wish.
But whatever you're celebrating,
yes,
this holiday season. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And make sure to follow us.
Make sure to follow us at Our Pod. That's OWWR Pod on Instagram and Twitter, if Twitter still exists when we're recording this a little bit ahead of time. We'll see. And then go to Our Pod. That's ourpod.com to see some of our bookish related content, or email us at ourpod@gmail.com. Next year, we will be reading the Murderbot series.
The Murderbot Diary.
By Martha Wells. So make sure you're joining in on that. And I believe it will be called the Murderbot Diaries. So enjoy that. Bye.
Bye.